Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Dan Lutz, and welcome to another one of my broadcasts about the global currency reset. So welcome all abundance-minded folk out there. And I have with me today someone that I've been starting to follow last 4 or 5 months ago from a website called the Speak Project, and he has a few other websites, but his name's Stefan Rowe. I believe that's how you say your last name. Go ahead and
Stefan Rowe. That's okay.
Rowe?
Rowe.
Rowe. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
And why I started following was from one of your other associates, Thomas Williams, who does another broadcast. And I've been and I found the Speak Project, and I found your blogs, and as soon as you had just posted on. I guess the new legislation going through Congress, the House Bill 24 and 204 and 25. One is for abolishing the IRS, one is for getting out of the UN, and one is for an audit of the Fed.
Yeah.
Those are three really good topics.
Absolutely. Save the world.
Yeah, it'll change the world definitely. And also, the other thing that was being covered on the Speak Project site was information about the Manna World Holding Trust and how it is the trust that is responsible or holding all of the asset and is dedicated to giving half of it to the countries and half of it to the people. And it really gets deep in going into this. So maybe you might want to comment a little bit about that, and we'll get into a little bit more detail.
Sure. So basically, what you've had happen over many years is thousands of years actually, is that the world was always kind of controlled by a higher government body that was referred to as monarch law, right? So you have a higher law that has governed the entire planet for its existence, really, for at least our existence, the past 16,000 plus years. So with that, the dictator who is over the planet, he's referred to in all of the major documents, all the major international documents, as the great dictator or the king of kings. In the paperwork that founds the Federal Reserve, you actually see it says that the arbiter, who has absolute control and final say over everything. So basically all the rules that came before the arbiter, they're all negated based on the role of the arbiter. The arbiter can say yes or no, because it's the arbiter, the king of kings, technically has always been the sole monarch of the planet. And everyone else has been a sub-sovereign of that. Now, it's also, so in the actual intelligence systems and also in the world financial system that maps everything. So it's your quantum financial system that people refer to when they talk about the GCR. But it's really a quantum system. It's a mapping system that maps everything, everyone, every digital activity that takes place on the planet. And that system, the trust, the Manna World Holding Trust, is registered as the unknown country. Now, in every system, any CIA agent who's ever been on a mission somewhere who had to use, they all know about the unknown country, every one of them. So any intelligence agency is familiar because the unknown country has been at the top of the order. And I look at, like, if you look at the pyramid on the dollar bill, then you have everything cuts off, and then the top of it is the eye. That is the trust. And that is also what the real M1 level, where that really happens, because at that level is also the assets redemption program. So what would happen is, you would come to the Philippines, somebody would come to the Philippines and they'd make a deal, for a piece of land in the Philippines. And now I take the deed to that land, and now I own it. And I take it and I register it into the asset redemption program. And the asset redemption program, which is actually the trust, has that legally as an asset. So it gives me back a currency. To the people who set up the trust, the currency is useless. They don't care. The asset is what they wanted. They were trying to take possession of all the assets on the planet.
So they're giving you pretty paper in exchange for an asset.
Exactly, right. And then we used that to trade around like we owned the place, but in reality, we had given up, the kingdom for a morsel of bread, so to speak, right? So what happened was in 2007, every asset on the planet, in ground and like mined and unmined, every asset on the planet, every piece of the earth was registered to the trust in 2007. And from that point, that's why you had the crash in 2008. And
so there was this mass registration that went on. It was all done behind the scenes by say the bloodline families like the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and so on. Is that right?
yes. So basically, the Rothschilds, the bloodline families that we generally at our level look to as like these supreme controllers, they were like the head slaves. They've never had an idea really of their own. It was always the mastermind at the top of the order, which was Marduk, or people usually just call him M. But at the very top, he was the mastermind, the Sun Tzu art of war. That was him. And historically speaking, this character has been around for thousands and thousands of years, and really been putting everyone at war around the world. So, and that seems a little insane, but when you track it all back, there's no other explanation. So, but in this case, what you have is he was at the top, and what he would do is no one ever saw him. There was just about 154 people at that level, and he would just send messages out through and somebody would get a message and it would say, do this. This is a message from the devil's wife. It'd be something like weird code like that. Mm-hmm. And then the Rothschilds or Pasteurs or whoever, they would go out and they would execute the task that they were given. And that's how they started every war. That's how they did all these various things. And the whole idea was to distract all of us beating each other up and consuming each other with division and war and, whatever reason that we thought something was so important. And while we did that, he conquered the planet, took possession of every asset on the planet.
So now, going back, we're talking, many thousands of years. You said 60,000 years, 30,000, whatever. But start going into 1,000 years ago. we're really talking about the history that we know, right? Fairly well. We go back 2,000 years. We don't know. But didn't all these monarchs already have possession of everything back then?
Well, not exactly. There's always, for 16,000 years, you had one monarch that governed all of them. Then you have these sub-sovereigns who are over different sections of the planet, right? That we consider sovereign. This is a king, that's a king.
They were the sub-sovereigns. Okay, so those other monarchs were underneath the gods.
That's how they saw themselves, right? And that's how we saw themselves. Yeah. But they, and then even when we refer to things, like people always refer back to the crown. Well, the crown has always been the Rothschilds. It's never been the queen. But people always think it's the queen. But the bar, and all these different organizations that pay homage to the crown, that's the Rothschilds. And because the Rothschilds had sovereign status for what appeared to be sovereign status, but they were only sub-sovereigns. Now, even their sub-sovereign status was rejected, though, because when the previous monarch had an untimely demise, and I think it was 2015, that's when the only one left at that level is Kim.
So how did he die?
Well, My understanding is that Kim confronted him with, I'm not sure who, but she confronted him about some issues with the entire group of that had been withholding money from her and some others, and he showed himself to be exactly who he was, the actual draconian being that he was. And when he showed it, that white dragon of himself, in an act of self-defense, he got killed that day, along with several other people that day. That's pretty well documented, actually. I just
that's interesting. I've never heard that. So so it's not. How is it documented? Do they have cell phones? Do they get video?
Well, documented.
Good.
The intelligence agencies and everyone else who they all looked at this group at the top as the highest order. Everyone, I mean, people didn't know them, but they all knew someone in that group of that they answered to, because there was 154, I think, at the top, and at that top level, all of them except for I think 3 died that day. So it was a massacre. I mean, that's how it was described to me.
Do you know where it took place?
Yeah, I somewhere in some place in Russia where the place where they would go, they had a home where it was the magnetic poles were at the highest frequency type of thing. That's where they were meeting, and they were kind of shacked up, I guess.
Like in 2015. Okay. I know. See, back in 2014, I know that there was an attempt to do the GCR, right? And there was a big meeting in Malta, right? And all these people from around the world all met there. Bushes were the ones who were, in charge of the meeting, and then the way I heard it is that the granddaughter of the grandfather from China side, elder, was not in agreement with this plan, because it would have really left, the Bushes in charge of everything.
Yeah.
So they tried to get out of there. They didn't want to move forward. They closed down the meeting, but then they wouldn't let them leave, and they even arrested them in Malta. And then this was so after that, time, I think they only had one quad or something like that to do the deal, right? And that was the how they were going to flip it was with one quad. So it wasn't enough, or whatever but it all broke down from there. And then after that is when we're starting to bring in all these other historical aspects. So in that following year, so that's when I'm getting all this push from people that I know. And I told you in an earlier conversation is about my friend Ralph, who was in the CIA at the time, and he was responsible for moving some of these assets around for as part of what he was doing back then. And he even got into trouble in dealing with these things because he used some of them himself, and he was warned not to do it, and to stay out of it. And they actually, made him disappear from the system. They wiped out his Social Security. They made him a non-person. They unpersoned him.
The CIA will nothing you. They'll just nothing you. You'll be
nothing. That was it. They nothinged him. Yeah, and all of his money that was in the Knights of Malta, they just said, "Oh, what? No money." I don't know what you're talking about.
See, the reality is, so they've been trying to bring in the global currency reset, but if you look at the Singleton documents that I posted on the Speak Project, it maps out the plan of the GCR. Now, the GCR is just one leg of the Agenda 21, right? So Agenda 21 is the depopulation agenda. And ultimately, when they got up in 2015 at the United Nations, they said that we will abolish poverty by 2015 or 2030, right? What they meant by abolish poverty is you. They mean they're going to get rid of you and me, and that's exactly what they meant. So the way they're going to abolish poverty is they're going to get rid of the impoverished. And the way they're going to do that is they're going to control how much money we make. Now the GCR, although it looks like the dream come true, right? We're all going to be rich. You know, there'd be so much wealth on the planet with the GCR that it would diminish the value of everything. That's what people don't realize. It would diminish the value so much, and there'd be so much money would be useless. So because money is useless now, because everyone's been raised in a society where we need money, and that's what we use to exchange and to function, now you have everybody neutralized. Because look at what they did with the GCR. The GCR / RV, they took the most enlightened, the healers, the most forward-thinking, the most open-minded, intelligent, giving, caring, loving people with the greatest innovative ideas, really amazing cutting-edge technologies, and they stalled all of us. They took all of us and they put us a stall and wait pattern because we're all waiting for money. And because of that, from that standpoint, it's genius, because
it's quite a magic spell.
It really is quite a magic, because then from there, we all spent a solid 4 years planning. How are we going to, and not only that, but we made plans based on having an unlimited tranche of money, right? Just a bucket of money that we could save the world from our yacht, right? I mean, it didn't matter. Like, we could just call in and be like, how's everything going? You know, everybody's fed, great, you know, and we'd feel okay about ourselves. And that's what they did to us. And then we all got intoxicated with that. And then we all stopped moving because we were there's such good evidence on it, because it's real. It is real in the sense that every country in the world signed off on it. That's true. 136 countries have had their major debts paid off by these currencies, which, by the way, they're not legal. The ZIM came in 2008 and 2009. So remember, I told you in 2007 is when they shut down the asset redemption program. It was all shut. And you can prove that if you know an intelligence agent, anybody who's done contract work, you know, after the military, you know, they do some private work for jobs for people, for various characters. They would get paid in an off-ledger account. And in 2007, after that time, they were no longer able to access that account. And I know that for a fact. I've sat with the agents, and many an agent has gone up to assassinate Kim thinking she did it, but it was long before she took the job. So in 2007, that shut down. So nothing after that point. There's no currency that's actually even legal after that point, because this whole system's been shut down.
So let me ask you a direct GCR question, a little side, because my understanding about the ZIM is that what they did was they bonded the land to this currency. Now you're saying that everything was already allocated in 2007.
Right.
So how are they able to go ahead and bond the land if it's already been allocated?
They're not.
Yeah.
That's what people get. Like, a lot of times it takes a second for people to absorb this, right? But I talk to people about this every single day, from all types of people who all think or know something really high up, like, you know, people that are over the Rodriguez Trust, or someone who's over the Alpha Omega Trust, or, you know, they had the documents to prove it.
Right.
They're the signature. It was given to them by Ferdinand Marcos, and, you know, they were the special thing they have, right? I mean, I have a $2 billion check, a certified check from HSBC from Ferdinand Marcos that no one can cash. The reason why he never had access, but the reason why is they can't access the asset that brings that down. So so they all have some kind of paperwork, right? Which, that's how they paid people. They said, here's some paperwork, you know, you're really important now. And people are like, wow, this is great. But they really don't have any authority, because the whole quantum financial system opens up with one person's DNA. And it is actually, the way it's designed is the person with the most amount of the original human DNA. So that is the mitochondrion E, the original that you can actually track back. And it just so happens there's a genetic anomaly that happens every 2,000 years. And Kim is that genetic anomaly.
Interesting. So was she part of one of these families?
She was raised in Southie in Boston. Just a regular person. You know, nothing particularly special.
So how does she find herself in a room with Marduk?
So they use facial recognition software, and they identified her because they used the looking glass technology. So they had seen through the looking glass technology, you know, basically the looking glass technology, my understanding is that, you know, I could see, I could see like a dog cross the road and a car go by, and then all of a sudden a building blows up. So I know if I see, you know, a dog cross the road and a car go by, and the next thing I should expect to see is a building blow up. But I don't necessarily know exactly when. So in this case with her, they saw her in the looking glass, and I'm not sure doing what her role was. And then what happened was they saw her functioning and doing whatever, and then the facial recognition software recognized her when she was like 18, and they tracked her. And then when she was, I think 39, they approached her and they brought her in and basically told her she was playing this role. And she was in Russia at the time, just trying to claim, you know, trying to get a broker's fee on some wealth she was trying to claim. And then that's where she met Marduk, and he introduced and basically said that you are this person, you know, you're the one who's going to do this. Now they had her basically for a few years. She basically thought she needed them to access the system, not realizing that when she turned 40, it was designed so her DNA was the only thing that actually opened it up. And she studied them for 3 or 4 years, just watching everything they did. And she saw how matter of fact, she gave me some incredible original photograph documents that they were having a meeting to discuss the divine plan. But the divine plan made Marduk the divine. So everything about this, it sounds so similar to most of us, right? You think like this is such Christian rhetoric, right? But in reality, if you took out the way we perceive God and realized they were talking about this individual, you realize how corrupt it really was, because it really made him the absolute everything. He had the final say on everything. He was a god to everybody. So during this meeting, they left the meeting, and Kim went in and photographed it all, and so that we have proof that really happened. I mean, she photographed the whole thing. But she said how they would sit around and just mock us, laugh at us when they would make us fight, call us eaters, and they used to laugh all the time about the GCR. What a joke it is that we keep believing the same thing every week, week after week. We keep pursuing it and talking about it like it's real, week after week after week, and we'll believe the same lies. And I'll tell you, someone brought me into a paid chat room where I sat there and I got to see exactly what one of the trustees to the Chinese elders, they would have a meeting every Thursday morning, and she would come in and give a report. And I can tell you for a 1,000% fact that all of the disinformation campaigns started with the Chinese elders right there in those meetings. They'd come out every week and say almost the exact same thing. It would start from there, and it would just spread and become a whole bunch of other things. Then any other thing that we would see would just be a witness to that one thing. The problem is we had this one absolute truth, that the Chinese elders were benevolent. But the reality is it was just a shift in power. In 1978, they all met, and they decided that they were going to they would do a peaceful transition of power, right? Same term we use.
1978?
Yeah, 1978, they decided it was going to be a peaceful transition of power from the American faction of the Rothschilds, of the Dragon families, over to the Chinese faction of the Dragon families. And so essentially, that's why from 1978 on, you have the demonization of Americans, right? Americans, we have characters pop up who are evil and doing terrible things. And then at the same time, you have the legendary benevolence of the Chinese. Oh, they're so wise, and such an ancient culture, and we're so. And in the meantime, they've been paying our military, so they've been controlling. And it's not the Chinese government; it's the Chinese elders. But governments are right now actively trying to get them out of their country. So there's a shift. There's a shift, and it has to be.
Yeah, it seems like that that we have Trump and Ping and Putin all kind of deciding to work together to remove the banking cartel. I mean,
right.
I don't know.
That is that is happening on some level. It's amazing. I cannot believe that Steve Mnuchin is still. I mean, he was told he was the one. Some kind of chosen one for the cabal of the satanic deep state, right? And so he's been fired and relieved of duties several times. He brought in gold certificates, right, to try to make it seem like, look, here the Rothschilds bought you these gold certificates, right? And this is the kind of thing that happens all the time to people. They brought in all these gold certificates to try to prove we have the rights to the gold. And the name on the gold certificate, I think, was Gao or something, some other name, one of the Chinese elders or Rothschilds in that world, right? And then, so what Trump did is he took those gold certificates, he said, okay, and he took the numbers on them, the actual certificate numbers, and he entered them into the terminal that he has in the Oval Office. He entered it into the terminal, and lo and behold, when it came up, the gold was certified, and it was Kim's name who came up. And so it was Manna World Holding Trust, Kimberly Ann Gogan. So it wasn't registered to Gao. They didn't own it, So he was trying to cash in gold to back the world reset with assets he doesn't control.
Well, I just a little earlier today, I saw him on an article where he was at Fort Knox looking at the gold, inspecting. So there was 190 billion worth of gold, and I did a quick calculation. It's probably around 4,000 metric tons. In China, picking that up every year, 4,000 metric tons. So that means there's not much there in there. And then the pictures that they had there were not in color.
Yes, you know,
black and white. And so you had the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and Stephen that name how do you say his last name? Munich.
Mnuchin, yeah.
Munich. Yeah. So both of them there, and these black and white photos. So why are they not showing color? Because it's not gold.
Right. Yeah.
Is there actually any gold there then? That didn't prove anything to me.
As far as I know, there's no gold there. The real vaults are all deeply underground, and there's a lot of people who used to have access to these vaults. But I know that there's underground tunnels that you can move the assets, and I know that the real assets have, like with the different hallmarks, have all been moved to different places. And all of the allocation numbers have been allocated to different vats of gold. That way, there's no way for them to go back and try to claim.
They've been re-hallmarked.
Yeah, well, because the gold's hallmarked, and the currency has a certification number, and they have to connect. So, what Kim did is she took the gold and she removed it from those vaults first of all, and they don't have access to them. And then she made it so she confused them all. She made everything different. So there's no way to go back and try to claim it, because even if they had the right allocation number with the right hallmark, it's not that anymore. So they can't even claim it. So when they go into the system, that's why they fail. That's why the perpetual cycle of the failed GCR, which, to be honest, is to our benefit.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like it.
Listen, I have my associates that I've been working with on this, right? Rodriguez Trust people that's where I had my mandate. They gave me the mandate to go to China, and I spent a year in China, back and forth 20 times in China, and these people and my other people that were in the currency exchange. Now, I got into currency stuff way later, mostly to exchanging cryptocurrency, TBC coin for the Zim. And that's how I kind of got into it. But finding out that, this ongoing pattern of how it's going to be, released and released. I said, there's something wrong here. Something is not right. No, I have, on my personal focus has not just been waiting, right? I was working on the GCR from another standpoint. Is this cryptocurrency that's not a market-based coin? It's community-based and a grassroots rising coin. It's the biggest coin on the planet, if anyone would believe it, but they don't, because there's 50 million people who have signed up for an account. So this was another effort to make something happen, but there's this repeated pattern. Even today, I had a friend of mine that I work with. He's told by his attorney that the money is going to be in his account today, right? And it was also yesterday, also the day before that, and also and and it's ongoing. Always a daily, and so I was just letting them know. I said, I really don't think this is ever going to happen, and I really don't think that we want it to happen. Even going, if it is for a bad purpose, why do we want that? Even if we get this boost for the next, oh great, we finally happened. It's
yeah.
our detriment.
It's where it's so important for people to get educated on what's happening to us or what's happened to us. It's cultural guidance. I create a situation where you're so desperate, you're so uncomfortable that all you can think about is your immediate concerns, your immediate change. But to look at it from, pan back and say, wait a minute, this will disrupt. This will destroy the world. It's really hard to see that. And, I can tell you what happened. I believe it started Thursday. The systems went down. And I got this from really great sources inside of Reno. And this one trust was offering, if you remember, they registered the dinar way back.
Sure.
They used to register dinars. So in reality, what they were doing is they were trying to create their own asset redemption program. So they registered the actual currency as an asset against oil credits, right? And so they registered that. So now one of the ways they've been staying in business, the banks, because they're insolvent. All the banks are insolvent. They've been allowing people to redeem, some of their dinar in very private, secret things, right? A few million at a time. And they allow them to redeem for real rates. So that has happened, right? Like people have got a rate. And really, all they get is a credit in their system. Mm-hmm. It's not really asset backed. It's not real, right? But what it does for them is they can now fabricate the illusion of money in their system. Right. And so then what they've done is they've created all of these counterfeit super notes that are everywhere, right? There's so much counterfeit money in the system printed by a real, I think it's a De La Rue printing press from France, because that's where the Rothschilds own it, right? And so they print it up, but it's the same allocation number is the problem. So what happens is the reason why they're fighting the Manna World Holding Trust so hard is because when Manna brings in money, you can cross-certify it with U.S. Treasury and every government in the world. And when you do that, it immediately takes, because that's a real asset, it takes the other asset and makes it void. It's like we're at a party and everyone thinks you're already there. And they're talking to some other guy like he's Dan. When you show up, that Dan has to go because he's not the real Dan, right? Like just by your presence, you make him a fraud. It's the same way with the assets. All the assets they have registered right now, in all these different things that people have done over the years. It's been a while since you had real solid assets in the system, or at least new assets in the system. So in the meantime, the assets have just been being drained and drained and drained until now you have a liquidity crisis. You have and they wanted that. Their whole goal was to collapse the world economy, starting with the United States, buy back the entire, when everybody was in desperate, dire straits, they would come in with a solution, right? And there'd be they also had a biological, they threatened back in September of 2016. They got up at the United Nations and threatened every country in the world that if they took a dime from the Manna World Holding Trust, that they were going to unleash biological weapons and kill everyone on the planet. That's a true story. And that was a real plan. I mean, wouldn't have killed everyone, but most people. And they had like two different options. Like with Hillary Clinton, I think it was, they were going to have a fake alien invasion. You know, they were going to have holograms projected and wipe people out, right? And with Trump, it was supposed to be a zombie apocalypse, which is proven. They actually have a biological weapon that would cause people to crave human flesh to a point where we would just, you know, kind of like rabies and your worst nightmare combined. And we would have been living in the zombie apocalypse. That's why all the movies have tried to normalize zombieism, right? You got,
well, I thought
zombie.
I thought that the zombie films were all like to desensitize people from starvation. So when everyone's out of food and they're all roaming around looking for food, you know, that's like the zombies are all, you know, going around and, you know, eating whatever they can, even cannibalism. So
you're right. Coming. And look at the migration. Like they forced these mass migrations to hoard zombies to see if they could do it. I mean, you can look at some of these mass migrations and you see the people, it looks like it's just a bunch of zombies because they're dirty and they've been walking for miles and they're hungry, you know, and they're sick because it's impossible not to be. So they force these mass migrations to show that they can just herd people and herd them in one place and slaughter them. It's,
and again, they're using money. They're giving them money to move. Yes.
Yeah, it's such a joke when you think about it. It's like, the money doesn't matter really. It's nobody really benefits from it. So that's where we're at. So that's what Kim is fighting, and that's what's going on with GCR. You know, they try to. So in the GCR documents, it says there's two options: either the currency will be asset backed, or all the currency will be digital, and it will be, and the entire regulation and control will be turned over to the bankers. Which, how are those two options? They're so far from each other. But that's what it says in the actual GCR documents, right?
Yeah.
So on Thursday and Friday, they were trying to take the entire system digital. And one of the things they did is they put a firewall up around President Trump's terminal at the White House and the Department of the Treasury's terminal so that they couldn't transfer out. And those are like our two biggest advocates is the president and Department of Treasury. And the Manna World Holding Trust just brought in, you know, $375 billion on ledger. But to move that money, it would start from the Treasury and the president. So they couldn't block us. They couldn't block him. So they blocked them. You know?
They put up a firewall. Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm glad they did actually, because now Kim, I think she might have been fed up with them. She took them all out. So now the intelligence agencies, the Federal Reserve, and the and what's the other one? Intelligence agencies, Federal Reserve, and
BIS,
something else.
BIS.
It's the level of 4, 5, and 6. Maybe the BIS, but levels 4, 5, and 6 used to all have their own control. They're all gone. They're all controlled by level 7, which is Kim, which is the Manna Trust. So now all those people that have had it's the Pentagon. I'm sorry, the Pentagon, the Federal Reserve, and the agencies. Those are 4, 5, and 6. They have been relentless in their attacks, trying to steal and block, and they're just keeping money from people. You know, relief money for when Hurricane Michael came into the United States, that wiped out so much. It's like a war zone there, and there's so much damage. We brought in $105 billion, and they blocked us physically at the Treasury. They had people there to block us. And FEMA would not take the money. And you know there's 1.2 million people that are homeless right now. Right now.
Looks like we lost Stefan. All right. Well, I think maybe we can. Are you still there? Looks like not. Hello. Oh, maybe may have lost. Maybe his battery went off. So anyway, well, that was a very informative. Oh, you're back. There you are. What happened?
Sorry
Battery?
about that. I know my friend called through, David Hayden.
Ah,
So
okay.
I didn't realize it showed up as your name, and I was like, I go, Dan, and he goes, it's me. So I thought it was you.
Okay. All right.
But anyway, so
So,
things.
well, that's everything's been consolidated now. So the Pentagon doesn't have direct access anymore. The top banks don't have access. The central banks don't have access.
Nope, none of them.
So
So
that's going to keep Kim very busy then.
well, no, she really what kept her busy was fighting them off. Now it's like it's the actual function of banking is not hard. They don't do much really. If all the banks were doing that, I mean, walk into a bank, what's anybody doing? I mean, you have people with college degrees who greet you at the door. I mean, they're like Walmart greeters. Like, there's not much
Well,
to do.
I guess what I was thinking was like, oh, just say at the Pentagon, you know, they have so much that has to move every day to pay contractors and whatever. You know, if they're not able to move things, then somebody's got to move it.
Well, Kim has been doing that for them anyways, because they don't, they actually, the Pentagon went to the Department of Treasury and they're like, hey, we need money. And the Treasury was like, we don't have any money. Like, because you keep blocking the Manna World Holding Trust, because Manna was paying their salaries for the past, oh my gosh, like since March. So they knew that. And the Pentagon and various characters therein, they were actively part of, what they think, I guess, is some righteous movement to invoke the GCR. But in reality, they're just foreign agents acting under the control of a Chinese authority, a civilian Chinese authority.
Well, I know it's a very hard sell right now. I'm talking to my friends here, and I'm saying, I don't think we want the GCR. I don't think it's supposed to happen that way. This is listen, I've had a great education. My background is in electronic engineering, electrical engineering, and I've done a lot of different companies, but this whole financial stuff that I got into, I had some friends in the high level finance, investment capital firms and angel investment firms, and so I had some idea about financing and business, how to raise money for business, but to get into this high end finance and ending up in I think I told you I met with the people in Swiss Indo when I started this as well, and learned about stuff going from there, and that's when I kind of read some documents that you guys had on your Speak project website that were to mention Swiss Indo, and that kind of, oh wow, what was your or the Kim's involvement with Swiss Indo?
So Kim wasn't involved directly with Swiss Indo, but she educated me because when she first reached out to me, she recruited me and called me. I was talking to people who actually edited all of the. They were the historians for OMB, right? Okay. And they were working with that, and they had all of the documents, the original documents, and they were the ones who edited the documents. So it was an amazing connection because they were able to validate all types of really amazing history. And so you could see in talking to them, I mean, they were wonderful people. They had nothing but intentions, right? And they were living impoverished. I mean, they were living in a state of absolute abject poverty, right? And it was so bad because they were deceived, like many of us, by the mission, right? By the righteousness of the mission. And they were told to make sure that you are not corrupted. We can't pay you until this is done. So that's how they've got a lot of people to work for them for free, because we're all bought into the mission of changing the world, right? So they were bought into the same mission. And in their documents, the OMB is where I realized is OMB and Swiss Indo, how they all connect, and they all go back to, there's principles in the GCR that came from, Sukarno and others, right? That were basically like universal income. And we looked at universal income like, wow, what a wonderful idea, universal income. Not realizing that universal income would give us exactly what we needed to just barely survive.
Yeah.
And then they would stop us from making money in other ways. And this is part of Agenda 21. And this is what I really think people need to unite around is the reason why we need to stop making it about the GCR. We need to get away from that idea a little bit. We need to get away from, all the things they try to distract us with, all the ways they're trying to start wars with us. And we need to get to the basics of what do we all agree on? Because if we don't unite around that, they're going to exterminate the population, and a large part of it, at least. I think it's 85% of the population. It's massive.
No, you're exactly correct. We really need to be focused on what we agree on and ignore what we don't agree on. we can cover that on like one day a year or something. pick a day. This is the day we disagree. The rest of the time we got to figure out where we're agreeing and just stay on that.
And that to me that's what it means to be human. The nature of sovereignty, right? Like we hold these truths to be self-evident. These things are absolute for everybody. You can pursue freedom and happiness as long as you don't hurt anyone else. I
disagree. I really do not want freedom or happiness.
Well, then you are not human.
There's always someone out there that's going to disagree, right? But yeah, for the most part, yeah, we can get about 99.5% of the people that agree on the
right. Well, and that's what I mean. So that's what I was saying about. I'm really trying. I can't emphasize this enough, but GoCamelot.com. I want to. This is an association that's tax exempt. It's unincorporated, and I want to bring in every single person I can into that organization to stand together as a people under principles we agree on. Right. For example, like you and I were talking about this earlier. Can we all agree not to poison the water, not to poison the food, not to poison the air? I mean, can we?
Just showing your website.
Oh, okay, cool.
GoCamelot.com. Just to give an idea, so it's GoCamelot.com.
Right, cool. Yeah, so we set that up so that we can bring everybody under this really strong organization. But what makes it strong is the people. So we set up an entire network that is a private, professional social media network that is all designed around actual project planning. So everybody in that network can go there, and if they have a project, they come in and they're discussing it, right? So we don't overlap projects, and we work together around collaborative solutions that we can agree are going to work, and actually, get the funding brought in and talk about, who's funding the project and what are we doing and how are we executing it. And then every single individual in the Guardian of Camelot, we are making this available to them. I'm not, but we cut a deal with Yokoyama Legal, and the membership to the Guardian of Camelot is really free. But we want to do a background check on every single person in there, so it's safe for people. So we're creating an environment that's positive. It's real people, not tag names and like Butterfly and Tank and Gingerbread Man and all these.
Who's this guy Tank? It's a very aggressive name.
Yeah, yes, it is. But the idea is everybody in the network, right? You've done a background check on them, and Yokoyama Legal is giving people irrevocable trusts, for like $80 or something, which is unheard of. You can't get a trust.
Oh, yeah, that's super cheap. It's a trust. Yeah,
for $1,500 maybe, but 80. So we did it that way to try to get as many people as possible. And then I just, I'm into the symbolism of it, is then you have an organization built on trust. Everyone has a trust in the organization, and it's filled with people who are like, look, we're not gonna, argue and fight because you and I don't agree about gay marriage, right? Like, we don't have to agree on gay marriage. Who cares? That's not an issue here. We don't talk about that here because that's irrelevant. What we're gonna talk about is the soft metals that are pumping into our air to block the sun and, diminish the lifespan of human beings. the fact that they're putting fluoride in our water and chlorine, but on our toothpaste it says if you swallow it,
Go to the hospital. Call the poison control hotline.
Right. It's like, I feel like I should call them every day, because every day I swallow some fluoride from the water, right? And GMOs in the food, and the frequencies being broadcast in the 440. We know it's been proven. People think it's a conspiracy, but it's fact. This is everywhere. We can all agree on this.
The thing when what is it, the boiling frog, you turn up the temperature very slowly, and the frog doesn't know he's being boiled in the pot, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't jump out. So I happen to be a traveler, right? I spent a lot of time traveling, so I'd be a lot of places in the world. A lot of times, like I'd be in the Philippines, 3-5 times a year for a few weeks. And I noticed when I was here in the Philippines that the food filled me up, right? And I felt good. I go back to America, then it's all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm hungry all the time, right? And it's like there's the food tastes hollow, right? And not to mention, getting the chemtrails sprayed all over top of me. It's like, there's no chemtrails here. So, I just sometimes, like, after staying here an extended period of time, I really felt much better. So, so it's one of the poorest countries on the planet on one hand, but
rich,
so many assets
rich
in
nutrients, rich spirituality, rich and a million things. Yeah.
Every tree around my house is bearing something you can eat.
Ah, it's amazing. I love that.
So strange fruits or something like that. We know, like, papaya, right? So papaya is growing all over the place, but they rarely let it ripen. They always cut it small and use it as a vegetable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's like a green vegetable, kind of like what is it? Coyote. That one, it looks like a green pear.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looks like that. Kind of cooks up the same way.
That's really cool. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love something. I'd love to. I love the little place. I mean, ultimately, we should live in harmony with the planet.
That's it. Yeah.
And the technology we bring out. I mean, there's such amazing technology that's in line with natural law. It's all here. It all exists. It's already here. We haven't had access to it because, they block it for, it's like you're an electrician. To me, it's like they are all about direct current. They're DC power. Everything is, bring something in, devour it. And we really need to get to an alternating current, right? Where there's a flow that naturally comes in and out, and there's a nonstop flow of energy. And we really, that's really what Kim is doing, by the way. The whole point of what she's doing is to restore the torus energy fields and to really restore the vitality, the health, the vigor, the true strength of the human spirit. Yeah. I mean, as much as it's about money, that's what she's
people are amazing. I mean, we're very inventive. We're very artistic. We make wonderful art, music, engineering. And if we're allowed to flourish, if not allowed, if we take it upon ourselves to flourish, we're gonna be a shining example in the universe.
You are absolutely right. Yeah,
we'll be a beacon. Yeah, there's so much going on here. I whatever the genetics that happened in the past, and whatever has happened with the cabal and everything they're doing, I'm not into revenge. Never have been, but some of them need to be put in isolation. I think.
I agree. I don't think their place is here.
Yeah, another planet,
Well, I mean, if you've gotten to a place where you look at human beings as a food option, we're probably not going to coexist.
Yeah, it's not a good relationship there. Yeah. So,
but I don't wish anything ill on them either. I think that's important, by the way. because I do believe there is a greater kind of intergalactic concern that when humans wake up to realize how powerful they are and what they're capable of, and not just artistically, but really, we're all made in the likeness and image of our creator, right? So we are innately, we're creators. It's the most natural human instinct in the world. Now they suppress that creative nature by keeping us so consumed and busy with work that we can't develop it properly. So they made it kind of like arts and crafts, you know, but it's much more than that. You know, I mean, everything is creation. We're creating the world around us all the time. And if we start to realize free to imagine this incredible place, and it just will be here. And when we realize that, the power of that, they're afraid that if we're focused on, we've been enslaved, our children have been, you know, kidnapped, raped, molested, our women have been beaten into submission and, you know, and raised to be subjected to men and abusive men. Men have been portrayed as these warmongering fools. You know, that's what they're doing right now. They're so afraid.
Or demasculated. One of the two.
Oh, right.
Got
the worldwide castration of men. They don't want the alpha male energy out there at all. So they're trying to, you know, make this androgynous society of half man, half woman. But whatever you do, don't have emotion. Don't be strong. Like, you need to be soft spoken about everything. I mean, even the way they portray Jesus, like Jesus is walking around talking soft to everybody. You know, like emotion, human emotion.
Well, wasn't he the guy that like overturned all the tables in the temple of the money changers?
Like, he fools and slow of heart to believe. You know, like, come on, like, you know, he wasn't just sitting around. It's like there's a time and a place. You know, men should be gentle and kind and loving too, right? But there is an energy of getting things done. You know, there's an energy that says, like, I will not be taken advantage of. There's an energy of people. There's not this docile complacency, and that is the enemy. The enemy we're fighting against is not the cabal. It's apathy. It's indifference. Everyone is sitting around waiting for someone else to do something. Like, you know, eventually
part of the fluoride in the water. Part of the fluoride makes people very, you know, someone else will take care of it. But no, this is the time to kick butt Gandhi style.
Yes. And that, you know what, that is exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I'm like, with the Guardian, I'm like, look, like, if we could just get enough people. Fisher told me, who's a mentor of mine, who used to be an agent involved very high up with different things in the CIA, not always the good side, you know, and a bunch of things like that. But he told me before he died just recently that he said, you know, he said, once you get to about 80,000 people and you get them all to stand for the same thing, the message becomes so powerful that even the universe can't ignore it. You know, and I realized that's not hard to do. I mean, it really isn't. You know, you think of how easy it is for you to go out and find two people. I mean, how hard is it to find people and say, look, if I was going to give you, you know, if I was going to make sure you had a trust so you could protect yourself, like the wealthy have, and but here's the thing, here's the catch. You have to agree that we don't want poison in our water, poison in our food, poison in our air, and you can't do harm to others. And we're going to protect our babies too. I mean, like, if I told you those were the 5 agreements, who's going to say no? I mean, who's the animal who's going to say no? You know. So that.
Yeah, we might get 81,000.
We might if we push it.
You know, no, it's a good goal. I think it's very achievable very quickly. I'm going to just say, you know, people that are watching this video, share it. Go ahead and like it. Go ahead and make positive comments, no negative comments at all. And go ahead and really take this link and share it. Go ahead and move this link and ask others to do the same. And that way, you know, these type of messages get out there more. And the more we hear this, the more people can tune in. And a lot of this stuff is so foreign. You know, you're talking about, time spans and alien influences and all this kind of stuff. So if that's too much for you to think about, just still think about positive things that we're trying to do. Because
Yes.
you can't be so rigid in your thinking and what's going on, because we've been lied to for about so much for so long, and
So
rely on the people that have been digging and finding out what's behind the scenes, and there's a lot behind the scenes.
you know what? And I look at this all the time. I was raised a very strict Baptist Christian upbringing. And I'm obviously pretty open-minded, but but I do have my minister's license, and I've preached all over the country. And I say this all the time. The Messiah said, he's the one who said, greater things than these shall ye do. Right? That's what he said. The Messiah is the one who looked up to the heavens and said, Father, make them one as you and I are one. So in other words, he was one with God. We all know that. And he said, make them that same way. So as much as people want to argue with me about, because Christians are the first ones got to jump at me and be like, this is new age nonsense. I'm not, this is in your Bible. Your Bible. And you can basically show the same principles are universal. It's, your spiritual oneness, what connects us all is something higher than us, and nothing wrong with embracing that. All of us can see some level of that that's real. How could you deny that we're all connected? God and science are not enemies. They're best friends. God made science. It doesn't have to be, a contradiction.
No, and I think that if we're all focused and we're moving forward at the same time, we'll move this very quickly. And we're really, I don't know when we're going to overcome this hurdle with the cabal, and when the trust won't have any problem distributing funds. I don't know if that's a month from now or a year from now, but we got to keep moving forward. We got to and then it will happen. We just have to move.
I agree. You know what? And they're doing their part. And they're up in, they're like Thomas and Kim and the team, they're all together. So there's a level of communication there. And I talk to them and communicate, but there's a level with them that I can't have, because there's too many ways for those things to be intercepted. But here on the ground, I'm always asking myself, are we doing enough? Are we doing our part? And I gotta say, that's why I set this up. It's the first time I felt like this could actually help. This can bring, and I've had the vision to do this for years, but to bring the resources together to finally do it was the hard part. And now I realize, no, we've done so much with nothing. That's why they're terrified of us. All of us, that we've had nothing compared to, the, criminal elite, right? And they're terrified, because how is it that we keep coming and growing and getting stronger? Our spirits get stronger, our energy gets bigger, our hearts get bigger. We do more good. You try to kill us, we get right back up over and over. It's the power of that human spirit that's so incredible. If people just knew how amazing they are, they stop acting so damn average. I'll tell you, I think about this all the time. God gave you gifts. Now imagine what an insult it would be to God if you never opened your eyes. You were born and you didn't open your eyes. You know what? I'm not going to use those. I don't need them. You never used your eyes. What an insult to God. I gave you eyes to see. You didn't even do anything for me. You open your eyes and, oh my gosh, there's colors and stuff. You were given eyes to see. Now, you have the same principles. Every physical sense you have, you have a spiritual version of it. So you have eyes that you see. So when somebody's talking, you'll say, you know what? I see what you're saying. Now, you don't see what they're saying with your physical eyes. You understand it, right? Like when something's off, you'll say something doesn't smell right, because it's a spiritual sense. We're all connected that way. It's physical and spiritual combined. And when we start tapping into this spiritual sensitivity, we'll realize, what am I doing right now? How am I contributing to make the world a better place? Even my own world? And that's how we got to break out of it. That's why we got to come together. One voice, one sound. And it doesn't have to be the same words, though. But how about the simplicity of the things we can unite on? Drives me crazy.
Yeah, no, the same projects that everybody wants to do around the world, whether it's a lot of like energy projects, whether it's solar or some kind of magnetic resonance system, or whether it's a food production, or healthcare. It's housing. I'm involved with like a couple of housing projects, one in Ghana and one in London, right? And trying to get one started here in the Philippines, but we just got to do things. We got to go and make these things happen. The rest just will happen. When we start moving, everything else will move with us.
Well, the challenge, what I know they've done, and this is the part that has frustrated me a little bit, is this is where there has to be a knowledge and a revealing in a sense of what has gone on. Because like you just said, people have put in a lot of time and effort, put all this energy in, they get guaranteed project funding, everything, and then what happened? It's gone. Less than 2% of all of the humanitarian projects allegedly sponsored by the United Nations, which is pretty much all of them somewhere, less than 2% has ever been funded.
Right. But all the money was created for it.
But exactly. And
all of it was created for those projects, but they never got started.
Well, and sometimes they'll get started, like, they'll pay somebody to go in and dig a well. Then someone else will come in and they come in and say, hey, you disrupted something, they'll fill the well in. Like that's their process. So we never make progress. It never gets where we want. And that's why a lot of times when a project gets funded, if it's ongoing, you'll find out. I mean, almost 100% of the time that they end up crowdfunding it, or they end up funding it on their own donations to keep it going. And then it never becomes what it could be.
Yeah. Well, the whole system was supposed to be, from my understanding, set up to be abundance for all the countries by these humanitarian projects, and every country would put up their projects, and then they would be traded. And when they trade, they end up, escalating the value of these, and they create the money out of nothing. But you have to have an original asset to go off of, but it's, times 10. But they ratchet it up by trading the projects.
And really, if you're making something, right, like that's the whole idea that people are missing. It's like you're bringing an asset in, you're making something. Now you've increased the value of it, right? Because you make something but if all you do is destroy things, that's kind of the problem. They've for the long. I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, specifically this has been going on, but I know in 1978, every country they put money into the trust, and they dedicated their in-ground resources and their mined assets specifically to build the monorail. I don't know if you like the high-speed monorail is supposed to connect the whole world. Now, the high-speed monorail is an anti-gravitational train. But not only that, but it's made from the same alloy as the Ark of the Covenant. And that technology exists right now, right? There's already prototypes running. And there was 7 Arks of the Covenant. They were strategically placed around the planet to maximize the torus energy field of the planet. And this is proven. That's why you have accounts of the Ark of the Covenant being in Ethiopia and in Egypt and in Israel. They were all different places. They were strategically placed. Now, that alloy actually was a conductor of this kind of source God energy, right? And by connecting the monorail around the planet, it actually it reinvigorates the natural torus energy fields of the planet. When people ride the train, they'll actually get healthier just by riding the train. The train itself will restore to plants and vegetables and trees to be, 200 feet taller.
So this is a system that's already in place.
This is when they approved in 1978 the building of the high-speed monorail. That's what it was supposed to be for, to connect the world with trade. And then the real idea was what it was going to be made out of and because people would challenge it.
Well, I think they did build it, but underground, and they only use it between the underground cities.
No,
No.
they never built it. They never built it because what happened instead was the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and the De Beers and the Bushes and the Clintons, they bought up land to block it. And they what they did for the past 40 years is block the building of this train. And that's what they've been doing. Now, Kim, she understands things on much like crazy, like she's like the smartest person I've ever talked to. She has an answer for everything. But she understood how this would connect the torus energy field of the planet. And so she's been set on, that's why the first time she funded every country in the world for the train. Because that's a treaty. And because Manna never broke the treaty, it's still in force. Mm. So because of that, she had the authority to fund every government in the world to start building the train. Now imagine it would do away with all, like most of the health issues we have, just connecting the torus energy fields, because it'll restore and rejuvenate natural who we are really. That's kind of a big.
I did not know about that. That's pretty fascinating. I'd like to know more about that project. But I've been a few people that I've worked with say that this is their pet project to build like a monorail from here. But no one said about going around the world. But I had the idea here in the Philippines, as Rodriguez is asking, what's my humanitarian project? Right? I gave a list of 13 projects, and one of them was to connect all the Philippine islands with a roadway and railway. So there'd be cars or rail would go to every island, and of course you could have a place where boats to go through, and bridges go up and down. But this would be a fantastic thing for the Philippines because it would connect. Right? But of course you're going over water, but it's all doable. You just have to have the money to do it.
Of this design with the anti-gravitational train, people have criticized me when I brought this out because they're so small-minded, to be honest. But it's anti-gravitational. It goes straight out over the water, so you don't have to build a railway. You just literally have to build a train. You have to build the train and set the path.
And you have to have a path. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Go straight out over the water. I mean,
well, yeah. I guess the anti-gravity part is a thing that they have a big problem with because it's also no cost to the energy because it's traveling on the torsion fields way. So, yeah.
But I mean, it's like I get it that people aren't comfortable with that because they think that's science fiction, but it's not. We know it's real. We know it's real. Tom Palladino. I mean, he's showing and repeating scalar energy all the time. He's showing, like, he'll take a light that's still in the package and just pass it over how he's creating a scalar energy field, and the whole thing lights up.
Yeah. I mean, my first company was Anti-Gravity Workshop. My second company was Anti-Gravity Products. My third company was Anti-Gravity Labs. So back in 1989 through 99, something like that, 2000. And but I had a very good friend, that was involved in some of the black ops things and working on anti-gravity devices. Actually I had a couple friends of mine in that realm. Even another one wasn't a really close friend, but we had some good conversations whenever he'd come by to my office. He's always he's one of David Wilcox's inside guys, Pete Peterson, and we'd have conversations about these things. Right. And many conversations. Actually, my friend Ralph, that I mentioned earlier, found out we both know him and knew that Pete was in the Brain Trust, right? And so it was kind of interesting to have that connection.
That's great. That's cool stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the,
it's like skunk works stuff.
technology that I know was there. Well, here's an interesting thing. Now, this is something that was just kind of like dawned on me not that long when all these fires were going on in California from the laser, in the space and burning out homes, but not the trees next door. All the homes are destroyed, but the trees in between are all okay, right?
People are vaporized in their car, but the trees.
Yeah, and but Pete told me, and I think it was 1999, he left California. He used to work at Skunk Works, and he on his way out of town, he stopped by my office and he said, we're evacuating California. And he said, I can't tell you what that means. I've said, but we're evacuating California. And it just bugged me for a long time. I said, I know California is getting really bad. Come on, it's getting worse and getting worse. All the years are rolling by. I said, well, it's getting worse. But not until I really saw that they were burning people out of the rural areas, right, to force them out and to really just push people into the cities. And there's some agenda there that it made sense. It's like, yeah, they're evacuating. Yeah, they can't be in California because whatever is going to happen there is not going to be good.
Yeah, there's where they just did it up there in Paradise, California. There's actually unique minerals there that they're after, that they want to mine. I know that one. I also know that there was like a whole group there in Paradise that
Palladians.
I don't know, something like that. Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's kind of like it's like the crossover town where the Palladians are mixing with normal Earthlings.
Which is cool. I mean,
if there are normal
I'd love to have that experience. I've never had, but it sounds cool. Yeah, but
no,
I don't know.
I thought that was fascinating. So I never been to Paradise, California, but I passed by it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I look at it like it's our job to take care of the earth. We got to figure it out. We got to take care of each other.
Yeah.
I think the biggest tragedy to me, it's the most natural thing in the world to love our kids, to care for people, to see somebody and want to help them. It's the most natural human instinct in the world. And because they've activated this really deep, latent, dark nature in people and forced them into desperate situations, that we've really lost that trust with just our fellow human being. We don't. It's so hard for people to care about each other anymore because we're too busy watching our back, and waiting for the next thing to happen. And we need to protect ourselves. We live in such a place of worry and fear. We got to change that into trust and peace and strength, and still protect ourselves. But you know what? Like, you can, protect yourself by being kind and loving, because it's really hard when you have a lot of people that are kind and loving and generous and strong, to really, how you hurt those people.
I encourage a lot of people to take a course that's called CEOs. It's a course on cooperative capitalism. And what it is it really teaches you to just help everyone around you in business, right? And you do it not expecting an exchange. I do this for you, you do this for me. No, you do it out of, because you're going to help from your heart, and don't expect anything back. And if you did that and everyone else did that, everyone around you would be helping you.
Yeah, that's right.
So you'll be helping them and they'll be helping you, but you're not expecting anything. Well, as soon as you start to get into this Babylonian system of exchanging, you're in that magic money system, all right? And it's not that you can't use money for a medium of exchange. It's not what we're talking about. It's about the intent behind wanting to help someone with what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And benefits will come. You don't have to count them, but they magnify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like if you've ever had someone do you a favor or help you, and they really didn't want to, it's like the worst feeling in the world. You're just creating this bad. It's like they did something for you. Like,
hey, I've got to move. Can you come over with your truck and help me move some boxes?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh, you're the third friend this week
in.
that wants me to use my truck, and
Yeah.
I really don't want to, but I'm going to help you.
Right. Like, okay, and then you hold it over their head. I mean, that's a horrible way to give. You know, it's like, don't do it. You know, don't do it. Don't even help me. I don't even want you to help me.
Don't do it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, well, I think that we're already on the right path. I think we're already on the path to victory. Say, you know, we're going to win this, and it's just a matter of taking these steps that we have to do, and it's one step after the next. And even if they're small steps, a small step is sharing this video, joining big projects, joining gocamelot.com, participate in a very small way, right? Just take some small steps. All of a sudden you'll be taking the other steps, and then we're all rolling.
That's right. That's right. I tell people all the time, I'm like, you want to help? You know what? Be kind to someone you don't know. Call your mom. Love your kids. You know, take some time to work out for yourself. You know, take care of yourself. Just do those things for now. I mean, those are real things, and you know, and then you'll naturally just start standing up. You know, if somebody was at the center of a crowd and they just pushed everybody around them down, they look taller because everybody else is on the ground. So they look very strong and prominent, and everyone's looking up to them. But as soon as one person stands up, then another person stands up, then another person stands up. When we all stand up, we realize that person, he wasn't making us better. He wasn't better than us. We were just all bowed down to him. And when we all stand up, and then we will rise. So we'll all rise up together. Yeah, sorry about that. So if we would all just rise up, you know, together, what would that one guy do? How could he possibly hold us down?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna have to go, man.
I know. It was good. Thank you so much. I mean, let's do this again sometime. It's a good conversation. I'm sure a lot of people will get a lot out of it.
Yeah, it's so nice to talk to you, man. I really appreciate it, Dan.
All right. You have a good one, and go get your phone calls.
Will do.
All right. Bye-bye.